man.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm joined today by a familiar face, second appearance on the show, Mr. Rene Dupree. How are you today, man?
Bonjour, monsieur. Comment
Welcome back.
allez-vous? Good to be back.
Yeah, man. Since we last chatted, anyway, you have your own podcast now, which we'll talk about a bit later on in more detail. But I just seen online there you surpassed 500,000 views, 500,000. How does that make you feel?
Makes me feel all cuddly and warm inside. Yeah, it's actually the numbers are going so fast that we got our half a million views, like
$500,000.
I wish. No, 500,000 sticker or whatever, but we're actually closer to 600,000. Yeah, so I don't know, man. I started it off out of boredom. The gentleman from England, James, my co-host, he messaged me and asked me if I'd be interested in doing my own show. And with the lockdowns and stuff, I was unable to travel. I couldn't do what I do because I'm used to being on the road 8, 9, 10 months out of the year, right?
Yeah.
So I was going stir crazy, stuck in my house. And we started doing it, and I don't know. We're I don't think we're even at 9 months yet. I think it's only at 8 months. So 600,000 views for 8 months. It's a start. There's people do a whole lot better, but people do a whole lot worse too. So
yeah. What do you think is it about it? From my point of view, like it's just the fact that you just lay it out on the line. You say it as it is, basically.
I have a unique personality, my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
That's a unique personality. I'd say it as it is. Doesn't pull any punches. Not afraid to call someone out. Not afraid to go through his experiences, and that's pretty much you.
Listen, I've had a 25-year run in wrestling. I'm blessed that I'm still able to do it. I'm still being booked, and for all the promoters out there, thank you. But I mean, if it ended tomorrow, I can honestly look back and say, hey, I had a hell of a run, right?
Yeah. Talk to me about Noah at the moment and the tag team belts, because you had to relinquish them and now you have them back.
They're called titles, Morris.
Titles. Talk to me about that. And you had to, obviously with lockdown and everything, you guys had to drop the titles.
Yeah, so when I debuted with Noah in 2020, and we did the global tag league, the yearly tag league that they have. Myself and Dr. Wagner Jr. We won the global tag league, and then which got us a tag team title shot the following night, and we won those. But because of the lockdowns, Wagner had to go back to Mexico. I was actually I was stuck here for 5 months because I couldn't get back into Canada, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, for a normal person, that might have affected them, but I'm not normal, and I actually love being in Japan. I lived here for like 3 years, right?
Yeah.
So, when they told me I could go home, I actually asked, "Do you think I can stay?"
What did you do for those 5 months?
I worked out, said my prayers, ate my vitamins. I wrestled, you know.
Yeah.
I've been doing this since I was 13 years old, so you know, it's in my blood.
Yeah. I was looking up your kind of database earlier of, do you know, when you go onto a website and you can see like all the matches that you've ever had that are on file.
Okay, I have to stop you there. See, I'm really not up to date with all these websites and stuff.
Yeah.
I know how to go to YouTube and check my emails and Facebook, but that's about it. So yeah, so I was told there's actually sites that have every one of your matches.
Yeah.
That's insane to me. Wow.
But I was just looking like the amount of matches that you had with John Cena, and you even had one. You had one with him in Japan as well, in Tokyo, according to this website in 2004. So we didn't talk about John the last time, but what was it like working with him, and what's he like?
Constant professional. I personally, the John that I knew was top class A1 person, you know. But there's a reason why they had so many matches with me so early on. I'm not trying to put myself on a pedestal and brag and stuff, but there's a reason why. Because I helped make him.
Yeah,
Understand?
you guys had like kind of the US title feud and like a lot of work together as well on television, as well as house
Yeah.
shows. You done like when I was looking at that thing, it was like you were nearly wrestling each other every night, like for a couple of months.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Every night. It was about 3 or 4 months.
Mm.
I probably had close to 100 matches with John.
Yeah.
So in every country, I mean, Canada, Australia, Japan, Germany, England, Ireland, Scotland. I mean, all over the world. So
Did you learn
yeah,
more?
but go
Sorry,
ahead.
did you learn more from him, or did he learn more from you, in your opinion?
Do I really have to answer that?
I'd like to hear it.
uh, I think even though he's much older than uh, I had a lot more experience due to like my upbringing and stuff because I
Your
was
dad.
born in wrestling and you know what I mean. My
Yeah.
dad and growing up in a territory which is non-existent in this day and age, right?
Yeah.
I'm one of the last people to ever actually grow up in a territory with an actual father for a promoter and wrestler. So I
Yeah.
learned both, you know, the business side of it plus the wrestling side of it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was very blessed in that way, as far as learning the business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of John, then as well, like we hear all these things from the outside. Like I'm on the outside, you're on the inside back then. But you know the way wrestling websites talk about locker room leaders and things like that. Was John one of those guys that was a locker room leader?
Was like a captain of the football team type personality.
Yeah.
Understand?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No bad habits, leadership qualities. But see, he was just coming up at that point in time.
Yeah.
See, I wasn't around him when he really got the big shove, and
Yeah. This
so I
was
mean,
just before
personality.
that.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you could tell he was on his way up, right?
Mhm.
It was obvious, but see, I haven't been around the guy in 15, 16 years, so
Yeah.
people do change.
Hmm. And now he's
Mm.
like, he's probably, I guess he's a Hollywood superstar now, if that's what you want to call him. But I guess that's what he is.
I don't know. The
Yeah.
last movie I watched was The Joker with Joaquin Phoenix.
Was
So
it good?
fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it grossed a couple of
Yeah.
billion with a B. Yeah, yeah,
Well, that's
great.
not too bad, is it?
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take a percentage of that. Sure.
I obviously Cafe De Rene, like you've touched on, you've done a whole episode, I think, on John Cena, haven't you already?
Oh yeah,
And people can check that out.
yeah.
But I seen like also on the podcast, they had some stories about the Undertaker, which I
Mm.
think like a lot of people would find kind of not the Undertaker that they perceive, like, you
Mm.
know, and stuff like that. Do you want to talk about any of that stuff?
Well, no, it's just that was a part of the whole deal. It's like, can this guy take a joke? Can this guy be hazed and not act like a child and whine and complain? Can he be a man and just take it and laugh it off?
Mm,
Yeah, that was just looking back, that was just part of the process, right? Back
yeah,
then,
yeah,
you know. But in this day and age, we live in such a sensitive world. Would you agree?
yeah,
That,
yeah,
yeah, things like that. I mean, things like that won't fly, right? I
yeah,
mean, sometimes I've seen things that were a little overboard. Like, do you really have to do that? You know, it's kind of, but um, I'm glad it changed, like the culture and stuff, you know. because for some people, they can brush it off and take it, and it doesn't bother them. But for some other, other people, they might affect them. Especially when you come from different countries and different cultures. They might not understand that.
Yeah.
Like ribbing is something we do in wrestling. It's like practical jokes, right?
Yeah.
Like in Japan, there's no. I mean, maybe amongst the Japanese themselves, they might do it, but when foreigners come in, it's you're here to work. This is business. We take this serious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if the call time for the bus is 10 o'clock, well, you're on the bus at 9:30, or you're waiting at 9:30 for the bus to get there. There's no bullshit, right? And I like that mentality a lot better. Yeah.
Did you ever see a session of Wrestlers Court in WWE?
I did not.
Yeah. Is that bullshit, or is that a thing that happens?
Oh yeah. Go on Cafe De Rene. There's we had Victoria, I think. We did an interview with her. She talks about the Wrestlers Court. Jazz, which was a great interview. She talks about her experience, and they had to go to Wrestlers Court because they lost a game of either dodgeball or volleyball to the Diva Search contestants. Remember the Diva Search?
Yeah.
So yeah, there was the Diva Search girls against the divas or the female wrestlers WWE at that time, and they had like a dodgeball or a volleyball, and the female wrestlers lost, so they had to go to Wrestlers Court over that bullshit.
It reminds me of like when I look back on the Tough Enough stuff, and I had Doug Basham on my podcast, and they were doing a thing with the Tough Enough guys, and Vince McMahon grabbed him before it and said they had to do a capture the flag kind of thing, and Vince grabbed him and he goes, "Don't let them get that flag." And Doug thought he was saying it in a way that this man is going to fire me if they get that flag.
Sure.
Yeah. That's crazy. So Wrestlers Court is a thing. Let's talk about Fifi.
Yes, let's do.
Talk to me about the logistics of having a dog in the arena and bringing a dog, like just having a dog around the place as part of the gimmick or whatever. Like, did anything ever happen with the dog?
Well, Fifi got ex-nayed after she bit Hiroko. Remember Hiroko? It was Kenzo's wife or valet. Yeah. So, Kenzo's wife, Hiroko, she used to dress up like a geisha for the whole gimmick, right?
Yeah.
And then the dog only came to television pay-per-view, right? So, she's in her outfit and, oh, look at Fifi. She goes to pet the dog, but the dog gets scared and bites Hiroko on the lip. And then, there's a big commotion, and then Vince found out about it, and shit kind of said, get rid of Fifi, and that was the end of Fifi. No more dog.
Yeah. Vince hasn't had much luck with dogs. Do you remember that match that Al Snow had with the Big Boss Man? Do you remember that match? Where the kennel from hell.
Right. And what's the first rule in entertainment? Don't work with kids or animals, because it always backfire on you. Yeah. I remember that, man. It was brutal.
Yeah.
Aren't they like humping each other and stuff, the dogs?
Yeah, they were getting sick and shit on the edge of the cage thing that they had. And I was talking to Al on this podcast. I had Al on it as well. And their build-up was really good, and the boss man was like real evil at the time. He was dragging Big Show's father's funeral, the coffin and stuff like that. Then he fed Al the dog at one point, and that's why they had the match. But he said they had a really good build-up, but the match, like, it's just one of the things that he like really doesn't like talking about.
Right. Yeah. Well, my whole thing with Fifi was I grew up when I was a little boy with 80s WWF. So you had the British Bulldogs, Jake the Snake, Coco Beware, right? So, and that was very appealing to me.
Yeah.
It's a way to stand out. Like Jake the Snake, when he came out with that snake, that, that's going to get your attention.
Yeah.
Right. And I was the biggest British Bulldogs fan there was in the world. And I figured, okay, if I'm going to be a bad guy from France, and there's a perception with French people that we're metrosexual, right?
Yeah.
I guess that's fair to say. So what bigger way to piss people off than come up with a beautiful fucking French poodle that's all manicured and perfectly coiffed? Yeah, it's a prop. It adds to the gimmick, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Another one from the mind of Vince McMahon. Do you remember your first time going to an arena to be on television for WWE?
Yes, it was in Boston when we debuted.
Yeah. And did you have any interaction with Vince before your match or anything like that that sticks out?
Well, my first match, it was La Resistance, right?
Yep.
And we were actually in Halifax, Nova Scotia. That's my father's old territory. And we wrestled Spike Dudley and Tommy Dreamer. Place was sold out, 10,000 people. And when I was in the ring, the entire audience was yelling asshole. So I guess my job is to be a bad guy, and I guess it worked. So I get back to there's like the gorilla position, right? It's the backstage area behind the curtain. And
yeah.
I looked at Vince, and he looked at me with this shit-eating grin with the two thumbs up, right? And then afterwards, after like the show was done, he comes to me, "Did you hear those people?" But I go, "Vince, I'm not an asshole." And then he looked at me with this look, and I could read his face. I was like, "Yes, you are."
What was your relationship like with him, with Vince?
He's a very complex individual. I guess he's like any other human. He has his good days and his bad days, right?
Yeah.
But as you know, and your listeners know, he's very into fitness.
Yeah.
Like a hardcore fitness addict. So am I guess. Maybe more so back then than I am today. I mean, I still like to keep in shape, and I noticed whenever I was in really, really tip-top shape, he was a lot friendlier.
Okay.
So, and I mean, do you go to the gym sometimes? Do you try to work out a little bit, or people that do? And so you can't stay in tip-top rip shape year round. It's very difficult. There might be, for a few 6 weeks to a couple of months, you might put on a little bit of body fat and then you lose it again, whatever. But whenever I was in tip-top shape, he was a hell of a lot friendlier with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever bump into him at the gym?
I never did.
Yeah.
No.
He probably had his own private gyms everywhere he went.
Oh no, he went on the road and worked out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But him and his son-in-law, for some reason, they like doing these midnight workouts where they work out at like 12 to like 2 in the morning. Maybe there's a scientific reason for that. Maybe it has to do with natural growth hormone and testosterone levels to work out at that hour. I know a lot of bodybuilders that do that. I know Cena did it. Ultimate Warrior did it. I'm not that hardcore. Usually at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, I like to be in bed like a normal person.
Yeah. Do you think maybe they've done that to maybe while it was quieter to try and avoid people maybe and just do it themselves?
Could be. Could be.
Yeah. Sure. What's the strangest rib you've ever seen played in a WWE locker room that you can tell?
Well, when people defecate in or ruin people's clothing or defecate on their clothes, to me, that's just trash. That's scumbag shit. You know what I mean?
I think.
Go ahead.
I think I know who you're referring to, if the internet is to be believed, but
Yeah. Stuff like that. That's like you're a fucking mutt. You're a low class piece of trash. You know what I mean? Yeah. To me, a funny rib would be Okay, say you're on an elevator, right? And I'm on the 5th floor, and you got 7 more people or 5 more people, and they're on floors above you.
Mm-hmm.
Or yeah. So before you get off, you hit all the buttons, so it has to stop at every floor. That's a funny rib.
I always
You
do
know what I
that.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Things like that, But when it comes to destroying someone's property or completely embarrassing them and degrading them, to me, that's just, you don't need that. If someone fucks up, you pull them aside and say, listen, you give them a warning, say, listen, you fucked up, you did this wrong, try to respect others. And I'm not perfect too. I was young growing up. I made a lot of mistakes. We all do. It's part
Yeah.
of growing up, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a better way of going through and dealing with things than that trashy stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Last time we didn't touch on this, and I touch on it sometimes, and then sometimes I don't feel like it's appropriate. But then, like when you said that you left WWE, you said like a lot of that had to do at the time with what was going on with Chris Benoit and things like that. Yeah, can you explain just what your feelings were around that? And that's pretty much it. Like,
Yeah, well, I developed my own habits, bad habits, and I addressed those habits and asked the company for help, which they provided me with, right?
yeah,
Now, for anybody who's ever been to or through a rehabilitation program, it's very, you isolate yourself in that mindset amongst those people, and you shut off the outside world. So basically, you're concentrating on yourself. You're not worried about your bills. You're not worried about your job. You're not worried about anything else, but you concentrate on you, and you get to the root of the problem, and you try to figure yourself out. And it was the greatest thing I've ever done, because you learn about life. You learn about the scientific parts of it. You learn about, I realized that I suffer from OCD, potentially ADHD. See, so don't forget, I've been wrestling since I was 13, but I left home. I left Canada when I was 18 and moved to the United States with the WWE in that system. So, after about 5 years of that system, and it's not just, I can't put all the blame on the company. It's the fact that when you're in front of these large audiences, okay, it's like being a rock star.
yeah,
Or a big time comedian, right? From a scientific point of view, when you're out in front of 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people, the endorphins in your brain, when you get that pop, as they say,
yeah,
it's like a natural high. It's the greatest rush you will ever get in your life. Some people can come down from that easily. Other people can't. Don't forget, I got it on Raw when I was 19 years old.
yeah.
And
So
we were given one of the hottest fucking heat-seeking gimmicks there was. A year and a half after 9/11, and you're going in there with an anti-American gimmick. Okay?
yeah,
Think about that for a second, right?
mm-hmm.
So other people, like, okay, most people, have you ever heard of like big time stars being prima donnas and assholes?
Yeah. All the
You've
time
heard of
you hear
all the time,
stories.
right?
You don't know what's
Right,
true, but you hear
right.
it.
Okay. So imagine you're a rock star, right? You get that natural high and you're boom, and then you come down from that. Now, some people might be aggravated. They might be pissed off. And you don't understand why. Well, it's because they're coming down from that high.
Mm-hmm.
Understand?
Yeah,
It's like a person who's addicted to drugs, right? When they first come off, right, their endorphins are lowering, and they're not as, and they get pissed off mood. It's the same thing with being a live entertainer. Okay. And then some people need to replace that. What's the
yeah,
quickest, easiest way to do that? Drugs and alcohol, or mask it, drugs and alcohol, right? Or sex, or food.
yeah,
You understand?
yeah,
Yeah. So this is all stuff that I learned when I went to the rehabilitation center. So for me, it was like going to, like, it was like taking a course It's like taking a college course at school and learning about addiction and how your brain works and different types of drugs and different type of, so for me, it was the greatest thing. But then, after 4 months of that, and I felt great, I felt wonderful, but I learned a lot. And then I think it was like a week or maybe 2 weeks after, here's a fellow Canadian, a guy that every wrestler admired as far as in the ring, right? How could you not?
Yeah.
Because he was fucking great. Double murder suicide. It's on every friggin' channel on television. Some of the stuff that people are saying are bullshit, both from the media and from your industry. All right. And you're seeing this. And then again, I was 23 years old. And I remember the first day I went to the rehabilitation center, we were a group of about maybe 40 or 50 people. And the counselor gets up there and says, not to panic anyone, but 10% of you that are in this room will be dead in 5 years, statistically.
Not to panic anyone.
Not to panic anyone. Fuck. But I mean, they're being truthful, right? It's a truth-based program. So after seeing that, initially I thought, okay, this is a sign. Let's just get out of here. I'll go to a different territory. I'll go work the Japanese territory for a year or two, learn a different style, boom, boom, boom. But Jesus Christ, that's been 15 years, and I'm talking to you right now from an apartment in Tokyo.
Yeah.
I'm still
Can you ever see yourself wrestling full time for a promotion in America again?
No, I have no idea. I can honestly tell you that I don't need it financially.
Yeah.
So when you're secure financially, independently, you tend not to put up with much bullshit now, do you? Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Now, I love being in wrestling. I need to have wrestling somewhere in my life, whether it be as an active wrestler or having a school or maybe in my own promotion or Cafe De Rene, for example.
Yeah.
That was such a great release for me, and it still is. I enjoy doing it. And obviously, people are tuning in. They keep tuning in. I thank each and every one of you. But yeah, wrestling was, and always will be a part of my life. So I'm going to be involved some way. But as far as a full-time American, what was that movie? Jerry Maguire. Remember that movie?
Yeah.
What was the catchphrase? Show me the money, baby. Show me the money.
Yeah, I do see MJF now on television on AEW, kind of taking the piss out of Tony Khan because he's like, oh, he needs to offer me more money to keep me. But do you think someone like him could end up going to the WWE with the character he portrays in AEW? Because he's so he can say kind of what he wants on AEW. He wouldn't be the same guy, I don't think, if he went to WWE.
Oh no, he'd have to pass their tests.
Mm-hmm. But he seems to be all about the money anyway, so it wouldn't surprise me if he did go there.
Well, who's wrestling on top in the WWE right now?
I suppose, like, who's the big guy? Roman Reigns, and then there's no one really in his bracket, I don't think. That's my opinion. But then you've probably got Seth Rollins just underneath it, Cody Rhodes, I guess.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the MJF guy. He's very, very talented in North America. The talking and the charisma and the personality that's number one, to be honest. And he definitely has that. So follow your dreams, follow your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Do what makes you happy.
Yeah. I was listening to an episode of Jim Ross's podcast a couple of weeks ago, and it was an old one where he said that you pissed off Bob Holly and Bob Holly went to beat you up during a match or something. Is there any truth in that?
Bob Holly is the type of guy with a size 10 foot who wears a size 8 shoe. Okay. Very insecure individual. Very paranoid. Would do whatever he could to make sure that anybody who could jeopardize his position would be out of a job. We're in a cutthroat business filled with snakes. Mr. Holly is a copperhead. I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, it reminds me of a story that I had a costume designer on, Tom Fleming. He used to design costumes in the 80s for the WWE, and he was telling me a story when Papa Shango, the Godfather, Charles Wright, whatever you want to call him now, when he was making his debut, the Ultimate Warrior was walking through the building and just cut through the guy was fixing his cape on the ground, and he just kicked the cape out of his hands like the costume designer and just walked straight to the bathroom or whatever he was going to do. Yeah. So
Wow.
You were saying, yeah, let's just talk about Noah and what you've got coming up and what the plan is. You've got a show Saturday. Big show.
Yes. This Saturday it's called Dream On 2022. For the fans in the Western countries such as Ireland, UK, Canada, US, WrestleUniverse.com. They're actually offering a free 2-week trial promotion. So you sign up, just go to the website, sign up, you get 2 free weeks, and you can catch all the matches, all the events live on their website. And of course they're recorded. So if you want to go back and watch it, at a later date, it's always available. But this Saturday we're in just outside of Tokyo.
Okay.
And it's our first championship title defense, myself and Dr. Wagner versus Masaki Tamiya and Michael Elgin. And it's going to be, if you like great, solid professional wrestling, I highly recommend you check it out. I mean, you get 2 free weeks. And then I believe if you want to sign up, it's 999 yen, which is about less than $10. In euros, that would be about, I think at the moment, it'd be €7 a month, €6 a month.
Yeah.
So if you're a fan of wrestling and want to check it out for a month, well, check it out for 2 weeks, you get it for free. And then if you want to buy a month, it's €6 or maybe 8 American, 9 Canadian. So check it out. You can see me.
Yeah. We might see you in Europe maybe sometime this year or maybe in the next few years. Would you like to get back to Europe, back to the UK and Ireland, Germany, a few places like that?
Actually, I have a, sorry to cut you off, but I have a tour lined up for this year. October is looking pretty filled. I'll be heading to Germany, Italy, Scotland, England. I might extend the tour into September. I'm not quite sure yet, but so for all the folks out there, the fans that are in the in those countries in Europe, you'll be seeing me real soon. Live.
And just to finish up then on Cafe De Rene, what could we expect in the next couple of months from you guys?
Well, I see my co-host James at one point in time wanted to throw the names that who's coming on. I said no. I compared it to you like the Royal Rumble, right?
Yeah.
What's the greatest part for me of the Royal Rumble is not knowing who's coming out in those surprise entrants, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna anticipate when you know when something's gonna happen. But I'll just say that there's some big time guests that are on the way, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And we just this week here. When is this interview dropping?
This will be dropping Friday.
So this week we just had our first interview with Paul London, my very good friend. And part 2 is coming out this Monday. So if this drops on Friday, it'll be coming out this Monday. I highly, highly recommend you watch Paul London because he's nothing but entertainment. And he's a lot like me, that friends. We just call it like it is.
Mm-hmm. And I will put all the links to Cafe De Rene underneath this. Rene Dupree, pleasure as always. And hopefully we might see you in Dublin. Sir. Might see you in Dublin soon. Who knows?
We just might. You never know where I'm going to show up. Take care, my friend.
You too, man. Thanks.
All right. Bonsoir.